गुस्सा आया?
Of course. Sometimes you had the instinct to, lash back. Sometimes just upset, surprised that people could be so nasty and mean and take pleasure in watching somebody else's pain. But then again,
Lifestyle, entertainment, and everything in between. This is the Pinkvilla Podcast. Fardeen, welcome to Pinkvilla.
thank you for having me.
You know, we've been trying to do this for very long, so I am super happy we are doing this today.
I'm excited to be here too. This is actually going to be officially my first podcast
Yeah.
that I've ever done. So I'm happy being here as well.
Thank you so much. And I will start this interview with a small anecdote. So a few months back, we had an event and we had invited you as a guest, but you were recuperating from a back pain.
Yes.
Now I remember you called me yourself and said, I'm recuperating, so please excuse me from this one. Now I've been doing this for more than a decade now. And I've dealt with a lot of actors. Very handful of them have this courtesy to actually call and have that interaction, probably apologize, probably share that warmth that you shared on that call that day. Tell me honestly, have you always been this humble?
I don't think it's about being humble. I think it's as you just said, it's basic common courtesy.
Yeah.
If someone cares about you enough to invite you or think that they'd like you to be a part of whatever they're doing, I think it's just a basic norm and expectation that you return the courtesy and you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And if you can't make it, you make a it's upon you to give them a reason why. I mean, we all choose to be in certain ways, and I think these little things matter.
Yeah.
I think it matters.
Yeah.
And it cultivates a relationship with people.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're acknowledging each one's feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically why it matters.
Yeah.
You invited me, I couldn't come. I gave you a call, and
Yeah.
that's it. So these things, these are a few values I think all of us have grown up with. Sometimes I think we forget about them, or we forget about the relevance and importance of it.
Yeah. Tell me, have you always been a Juhu boy?
Oh yeah, J49 all the way. J49, born, bred, brought up. My backyard, Juhu Beach
Yeah.
was my backyard. We live in a colony which has direct access to the beach, so that used to be my go-to. I used to body surf on Juhu Beach, and this was actually we used to stop in June because, we are in June now, but we used to stop in June because the currents and the sea used to get too rough. But the biggest waves used to be all the way up till May. So my friend and neighbor and one of my oldest, closest friends, Carl Schroff, who still lives next to me, and his dad used to make him and design him these bodyboards. We used to not get bodyboards back then, so we used to actually make them from wood, and we used to go and buy little planks of wood. And I went and bought a plank of wood, and he actually helped me make it. And it was just basically a rectangular piece of wood. And yeah, so Juhu is my turf. Not many people body surf in Bombay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were probably amongst the first few, but during April, May, the waves get really big. And
Yeah.
a lot of fun. Yeah. Scary though.
When you come from film families, people have this perception that their life has always been very smooth. But people don't realize sometimes that when you earn so much money, you also have to put in so much in your films, and especially more back then. When you were growing up, were the days smooth, or have you also seen the ups and downs that the film industry brings in?
This is a business with, I think, one of the highest degrees of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Your success rate in this business is less than 10%.
Yeah.
So and it's not easy getting a film made, selling a film, convincing audiences that yes, they should come and see it. Back in the day, the only outlet was what do you call box office. So
Yeah.
you had to sell a ticket. Satellite came in much later. So yes, my father turned producer with his first film, Aparadh, which released in '72.
Yes.
So in those days, you were personally financially responsible.
Yeah.
The whole finances of the economics were very, very different back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, there used to be distributor advances. If you had a certain name, the rest was there were people were taking loans, and loans were at 3% a month. And it started from day one, and the loans were deductible at source. So if you took 100 rupees, there were 36 that was just deducted right at source, and you were paying interest on the rest.
Wow.
So you're talking about close to about 50%.
Yeah.
It used to work out to around that much, and that was scary for everyone. So yes, we've seen days that have been difficult. My upbringing was extremely was very real. In fact, we were shielded as much as possible from the industry, or even from not made to feel entitled at all about having a parent who was famous. So it's yes, of course, every parent ensures that their children are safe from a security standpoint. They will do anything for that. But beyond that, we were left to our own. We had to manage, and get things, and whether it was even being indulged, you probably were just indulged on your birthday.
Yeah.
And of course, when you have a parent who's either successful or is well known, I mean, there are some perks that come along with that, and you just go along for the ride, and you, without even realizing it, you enjoy it. But I mean, it's up to, I think, how you're brought up and what values you're made to understand, and so it's we knew that was not real. We knew that was work.
Yeah.
We knew that was a different aspect, but that wasn't life. And because both my parents were working, they're both self-made. My mother too was she was with Air India for about 9 years. She was a flight attendant, so she's also worked. She supported her family, and my father's self-made. So
Wow.
they know the value of things. They know how hard it was, to get things done. So it was something that was very important to them to teach us. It was just plainly said, listen, there's certain things we can't do at this point, whether it was sometimes taking a vacation or I mean, because not that we demanded a vacation, but there was used to go, I think, every year for a month, the family kind of planned something, and there were some months where it didn't happen, or we had a smaller birthday party, or what, I mean, things, I mean, when you're a kid, that is, I mean, yeah, I mean, but it's, I mean, it's not like there was never food on the table. I don't want to, trivialize. I mean, I know life is tough for a lot of people, and I don't want to make my story sound like, or we've seen tough days or whatever. But yes, I mean, everything is relative. So from that context, there were some tough days, there were some tough months, some tough periods.
Today, for example, you've come back in the industry and the world has changed, right? How it used to function back in the 90s and early 2000s.
Change is
does
good.
Not work.
Change is good. Change is inevitable.
Bobby Deol once said in an interview that, probably he said probably I was old fashioned. Maybe I was unable to fathom to this new social media change that has happened. Did you feel that change, that when you came in, did you feel overwhelmed by so much of attention, which probably was not as much back then?
Yes, it does change you. I myself, talking about myself, yes, I myself am victim to this sometimes. You don't want to, if you're not liked or you get bad comments or whatever, it affects you sometimes.
Yeah.
It does. And, sometimes people are not very nice at all.
Yeah.
They have, even if they don't like you, fine. If they don't like you, by all means, don't like me. But you don't have to rub it in my face. You don't have to get on top of your building and scream and shout.
True.
So yeah, I guess, you cannot take it seriously beyond a certain point.
Yeah.
Now, it is what it is. It's a monster that has been unleashed.
Yeah.
And But it's also a great social experiment in many ways. I think it's a new technology. We're talking about something that's 10, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And of course, it's changing the way we interact, the way we project ourselves. I think it begs the question: how much more authentic do you want to be, or is that your authentic self?
Yeah.
And I think it's a great place to start for finding your authentic self. So, I mean, if you see it that way, it can be beneficial.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that whatever's authentic, you put it out there.
There has to be a barrier.
I think there has to be a balance. I mean, again, the question is, why do you feel the need to share everything about your life?
Unfortunately, that's the need of the hour. And do you feel that pressure sometimes? Arre yaar, nahi karna hai.
Yes. now ask Ibu.
Yeah.
he will tell you. Where you got to draw the line is when you start, getting into this, start thinking that you're selling your personality.
Yeah.
So you start cultivating a personality that you think people are going to like or you want them to like.
That's true.
And that's where you disconnect with your authentic self. So I think it's very important to be conscious of that and bring that into your awareness. Of course, it's each one's personal choice, how they want to project themselves, what they want people to see, how much fun they want to have out there, how much of their life they want to share. It's each one's personal choice. There's no right or wrong in this.
Yeah.
But, if you're going to put everything out there, people are going to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And you have to just develop some thick skin and I would say not take it too seriously. But on a more serious note, I mean, again, there are serious studies, especially affecting young teenage girls.
Yeah.
Especially with the way they view themselves, their idea of beauty, and how they make themselves, how it makes them feel.
Yeah.
That's having a very negative effect on girls. On their mental health, suicide rates, depression, anxiety. So these are all very real consequences
Absolutely.
of it. So having said that, there's talk currently in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, where they were talking about banning social media for people under the age of 16. I'm not sure if I have the age right. It was either 13 or 16, but I think it's closer to 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Not allowing them. I mean, how are they going to control it and enforce it?
Yeah, correct. That's true.
Is another discussion altogether.
Yeah.
But it's I can't call it an experiment, but it's something that we're all learning as and when it's happening.
Yeah.
The effects of it, how it's affecting our behavior, how it's affecting the way we think, how it's affecting our authenticity. It's something that I don't think anyone has any clear answers.
That's true.
But if you look at the symptoms, in these, ever since social media has entered every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
There are several red flags which behavioral scientists or social scientists are all looking at.
Yeah.
And trying to find the connection between social media and positive mental health and positive behaviors. So it's very, very interesting. I mean, for me, personally, I grew up without it. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
The mobile phone had just about come in I think 97, 98.
Yeah. You mentioned mental health a number of times, and I speak very, very passionately about it because I have myself gone through a very bad phase in 2021. You have gone through a dull phase yourself in terms of your professional life. You have taken a break. Sometimes you miss work. Sometimes you really passionately look forward to going on a set, and it does not immediately happen. How do you deal with it then? Did it ever affect your mental health?
Nothing ever happens immediately, Avinash.
It doesn't.
Nothing. If things happened immediately, they would have no value. I mean, if you look at anyone's success story, anyone's, I mean, there are 15, 20, 30 years of work, of learning, of failing, of succeeding, failing, losing, coming back. I mean, this is part of the process.
Yeah.
You know, and it wouldn't have value otherwise. So how do you deal with it when things are tough? Firstly, you accept that things are meant to be tough. Nothing is meant to be easy. And it's in that process where you find what it means to you. You refine your own skill set. I mean, you're interacting with the market at that point.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just helping you get better at what you do. It's helping you understand. You know, if for whatever reasons, whether it's the work that you put in, whether it's you're putting the right kind of work in, whether you need to modify your thinking, whether you need to learn a little more, master your skills more, or whatever it might be, depending on what you do, it's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, so of course, luck is a factor. And of course, some people sometimes have bad luck. And of course, it's horrible to see that when that happens, you know. But again, I think you have to just look at everything as a learning lesson, and you got to extract something from it.
Yeah.
You know, yes, I've also gone through tough times, and yes, sometimes, you know, you slip into, whether it's depression, or you know, you don't feel positive, or you know, things don't have meaning and purpose. But in my experience, that is where you find yourself. You know, I think the treasure lies in that deep, dark cave. You know, it's a constant cycle of death and resurrection.
But those days were tough.
Of course, days are tough when they're tough. Me personally, I sometimes go into a shell. I like to just sit and think about things, and sometimes people who know me closely say I might overthink. But if I'm down, I kind of, you know, really sit and think and ponder about it over a few days before. You know, I can feel why exactly I'm down. What is it exactly that's keeping me down? And I like to know the exact reason, and sometimes that takes me time. But once I actually find that, you know, then it's much less challenging to get back into the groove of things. You know, but I mean, having said that, you know, I mean, because you approach the topic of mental health, I mean, one is, of course, people who are genuinely suffering from some mental health condition.
Absolutely.
You know, where they need the assistance of medicines or whatever it is. I mean, you know, and then there are many other reasons, you know, which can get people down. But again, I mean, depression is again a natural reaction.
Yeah.
You know, it's a natural process that everyone goes through. So again, you know, we have to safeguard ourselves from this desire to always want to be happy. And again, you got to surrender to it and expect that, yes, this is a natural cycle. And then you got to try and if things that are depressing you, it is actually a signal for you to actually think about something that is unfulfilled in your life, or there's something that you're not aligned with.
Yeah.
You know, or there's something not in sync. And these are just signs. These are symptoms. So, I mean, for people who, suffer from depression due to life circumstances, you know, I mean, I think it's a good time to pause and, you know, think about what the possible reasons might be.
Yeah.
And what changes you could make to, you know, to have a better positive experience. That's what really matters.
Yeah. True. 1998 is when Premagan released. Is it true that much before that also you were offered many films, but you chose to go to the States and study?
I was not directly offered films, but I know people had spoken to my father as to why is he not You know, he looks like he should be an actor or whatever. I wasn't. Acting was not something that I was very keen on. To be honest,
Really?
No, yeah, no, it wasn't my first choice.
Oh, what did you want to do then?
Filmmaking, actually.
Oh, you want to become a director?
Yes, that was my first choice. And how did I land up being an actor? I don't know. Big mistake.
Oh no, it's not a mistake for sure.
Yeah. So no, it was very important to to me and my father that I get a degree. He left it completely open to me. You know, he dropped out of school in the 8th standard or 9th standard.
Yeah.
You know, he lost his father at a very young age, and he always used to tell me that, you know, I had no one to guide me, whatever, but an education is so important. And he was, you know, a well-read man, but self-read, self-taught, self-educated, and you know, so he you know, he says, you know, he says something I really feel inadequate about himself was the fact that he didn't have a degree. So it was very important to him. That was something that was told to me very young. So it was important to me too. And besides, you know, it was such a great discovery process when I look back. You know, just the whole college experience. You know, wasn't very sure what I wanted to do.
You were in Boston.
I was 100 miles west of Boston, in a town called Amherst.
Ah, okay.
So you know, I wasn't very sure what I wanted to do, and you know, you're what, when you go, you're 18 or 19.
Yeah.
You're finding yourself as a person. You know, it's this whole process of discovery that's happening, who you are, what you want, what your passions are. You think you wanted this, you think you like this, something else comes along, you discover so many interests.
Yeah.
So it's such a great process. But no, acting. Going back to your question, acting wasn't my first choice. But looking back, I'm glad it all happened the way it did. You know.
So you went to Feroz Saab and said, "I want to be an actor."
He was in the process of making a film at that point in time, and you know, and he was having a lot of discussions about casting and so on and so forth. And I think a lot of people said, "Why don't you, you know, take this guy who lives in your home?"
Yeah.
So that's how I think the idea was born. You know, and that's how it came about.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I think even he took it seriously. I mean, because I mean, from the time I came back to the time the film released, it was still 3 or 4 years, I think. So from the time I graduated and came back. So yeah, in terms of experience, I mean, I definitely lacked it. You know, my language wasn't my strength. You know, I was very raw in many ways. And you know, when I look back, it's definitely something that I still feel I should have given it some more time before you know, doing that. I think I should have had more time to prep and, you know, actually practically, you know, get some acting experience. But it just happened. I mean, real world acting experience out of a classroom. You know, so I when I look back, yes, I wish I had that chance.
You say this also because Prem Agan didn't work, and obviously there were. You were at home for a year, if
no.
I'm not
When I mean, whether it worked or not, when I look at when I look at it, I was very raw. I was very raw. You know, I should have taken more time to prep for sure, and I don't think I was ready when I look back. You know, so that's what I feel when I look at it, and that's my truth.
As an actor, when did you feel you were ready? Was it when you met Ramu?
From jungle onwards, you know, I think I know I kind of started finding my own voice, my own, you know, finding myself, trying to find my own groove as an actor, you know, as a young inexperienced actor, you know, just finding your own rhythm. That discovery started with Jungle. You know, I think also I think, you know, for one, definitely I was raw for in my first movie, but also I think, you know, working with my father, someone who I've been in awe with, someone who's has this larger than life personality,
Absolutely.
someone who I was pretty bloody scared of.
Really? Were you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he seemed like a very cool father from the outside.
You know, he was cool. He was liberal,
Yeah.
but you don't want to mess with the FK, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with the FK. So when I used to have some friends over, some of my friends also used to call me FK.
Huh.
And if he was around, he's like, "There's only one FK."
Oh, I can imagine this in his voice.
Yeah. So yeah. So no, he was liberal. He kind of left you to be, but he was also known for his temper. I think that's a wide that's common knowledge.
Yeah.
And but I mean, he was. I mean, as a father, he was. You know, well, of course, there were times where I deserved the wrath of his temper. But no, I was. He was an intimidating person. There were many other films. You know, different stages of your career. You know, then there were, of course, 4 or 5 movies from Jungle onwards where you're playing the urban.
Yeah, the
Cool, romantic.
Yeah.
You know, those were the roles that were written. Those, I mean, you know, we all worked in such a commercial framework. It's not like today.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everyone was. I mean, all the actors of a certain age. I mean, the characters were just generally one variation of another.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
unless they were very genre specific.
Yeah, true.
You were playing a cop or a gangster, or you know. So, but otherwise, it was, you know, if you were just slotted.
Yeah.
You know, and you had to work within that. So, I mean, that's how it was.
Were you happy with the stereotype as an actor?
There were a lot of films that I've really enjoyed.
Like?
I mean, well, Jungle, Love Ke Liye, Pyar Tune Kya Kiya. Then
Yeah.
of course there was
Khushi and
Khushi. There was Kuch Tum
Fida.
Kaho, Kuch Hum Kahein, Fida. There was All the Best. There was
No Entry.
No Entry.
Yeah.
There was Dev.
Yeah.
So you know, so I mean, I mean, if you look at it, I started after a point, you know, I started you know, exploring different genres, whether it was, you know, the serious kind, whether it was Dev, or whether it was, you know, Khushi is what got the comedy thing going.
Yeah.
You know, I've been acting comedically. There were a couple of scenes in Khushi where I had to be funny.
Huh.
You know, whether it was a drunken scene or a couple of other scenes.
I remember the film. Yeah.
So, and that's how No Entry came to me, actually,
Oh.
because it was Boni. It was a remake of
A South film.
a South film,
Yes.
No Entry.
Yes.
And of course, Anil was cast in one of the roles, in the role that he played. Of course, Salman came in a later stage, I'm not sure, but Boni was very keen to have me in a role that was played by Prabhu Deva.
Oh.
Yeah, so when I saw the film, I said, Boni, I'm not sure I'd be able to do this, and you know, I had a lot of apprehensions, and it was an out and out comedic kind of a role, and the character was a bit of a dimwit, so so I mean, that's what made him endearing.
Yeah.
You know, he was, well, not a dimwit actually. I think he was very gullible
Gullible.
and sincere.
Yeah.
Dimwit is the wrong word, but he was gullible and sincere, and maybe naive. He took people at face value.
Yeah.
So, but it was Boni who was, Fardeen, I'm convinced you're doing it. I've seen what you've done in Khushi, and he says you have to be in it, and there's no other discussion.
Oh, wow.
And of course, you know, there was Anis Bazmi directing it, and and that's his forte, and and his writing is just so brilliant. He understands the genre so well, and I mean, he really gives you these wonderful scenes and punchlines and these characters and
improvises on set.
That's improvising on set, and so it was a great experience. But that No Entry kind of I would say freed me up completely. When you get into that genre, you have to just
open up,
shed all notions of or whatever perceptions you have of yourself, or whatever image you're trying to. Because that's how we functioned, at least people in our category. We all cultivated a certain image, and you were in that stereotype, and you just fed that. You just generally veered towards those kind of movies and roles and character types. There was really not much else written.
When you were away, your idea was to be away for 2-3 years because you were focusing on family back then, but that became 10 years almost.
12
years. At that point, how was the industry perception towards you? Did they reach out to you with a lot of roles, or did they assume that you have quit acting? Were you in touch with many of these friends of yours who you work so closely? Also, since you come from a film family, you know all of them personally. I know Salman, and you go back long, even before you all worked in No Entry. What was that interaction like? Were you in touch with anyone, or did you completely cut off?
I kind of completely just took off. I mean, I used to come back every few months to Mumbai, but I pretty much just took off. Yes, there were offers at the time, all the way until 14, 15, and then I think everyone was like, okay, he's moved out of the country. And that's a perception which I'm still trying to change. Hey, everyone, I live in India. I'm based here now. This is home. I'm going to take the opportunity of this podcast to say that I'm here to stay.
Relevant, and
so yes, that was a perception, and rightly so. I wasn't around. So like I said, there were offers up to a certain point, but then after that, I put on a lot of weight. And
that's another story.
And then I think that was a signal for people that, hey, he's obviously not interested, or he's doing something else. His interests are elsewhere. So there was another question in that.
Do you regret?
Do I regret taking such a long break of 12 years? Most certainly, yes. A big regret. A big regret. Like I said, it wasn't planned. But I wish the gap was much shorter, by at least 6, 7, 8 years, I think. I mean, I needed some time after I lost my father. I needed some time to myself. I needed some time for personal reasons also. But 12 years is a long time. And I really count my blessings, the way people have met me, whether it's in my work, or I reached out to everyone when I came back, and they were all very warm, very receptive. I got to acknowledge Sanjay Gupta. He offered me a film on our second meeting, and I'll be extremely grateful to him for that always. And Visfort, which is going to be my next release. I came with the attitude of it was scary. I came with the attitude with that I am, and I felt like a newcomer all over again. Because so much had changed. I mean, not just the kind of films or the way that things function, but audiences have changed. I mean, you're talking about more than half a generation, of being away. And so I mean, even today, I mean, I think today's generation, I mean, they kind of are familiar sometimes about me. Yes, No, maybe, yes, okay. But yes, but the people who are familiar with my work, I really, I'm so grateful to them. They've with the love and support I've received from them via my Insta handle or Twitter or just in general,
Yeah.
has really been such a huge factor in how you feel, your confidence, the fact that you don't feel forgotten. People still want to see your work.
Yeah.
These are such important things.
Yeah.
I mean, for someone who's taken a break for so long, and it's not very often that you get a chance like that.
Did you pick up the call on your co-stars like a Salman or some of your friends in the industry, saying that I'm back and I'm looking for work?
Well, I went and met. I mean, Salman. I've been in touch with pretty much throughout.
Oh.
Yeah. So Salman, I've been in touch with pretty much throughout. But yes, I went and met everyone I'd worked with previously. I went and met Mukesh Chhabra also. It took people time. Of course, when someone's been away from 12 years, for 12 years, their perception of you, they want to know whether you're serious, what you're doing, whether you're back, whether you're not just going to take off again.
Oh, were these the perceptions that you had to deal
I'm
with?
sure. I'm sure. Because these are questions that I'm still asking. You're still here, no? You're here only, no? You're living here only, no? So these are things I'm asked pretty often. So I said yes, I'm based here. Yeah. So these are So now that people are convinced about that. Hopefully, with my next releases, they'll be even more convinced.
That's good.
So yeah.
Yeah. Do you miss your father?
Nothing can fill the vacuum of a parent.
I agree.
Nothing can fill that vacuum. So of course, he's. I mean, I come from him. You feel a part of him. So yeah, of course I miss him.
Was he an expressive father?
No.
No?
No, not at all. He would tell everyone else about how much he loved me and my boy and my son, but to me, no.
Oh, really?
Not at all. I mean, maybe in the later years he became a little expressive as he got, but no, not at all. He was very, very to himself, and he was protective, but not very expressive. He was protective of his tribe, but not very expressive at all. No. Yeah, so well, I my mother more than made up for it. So yeah, she's a I have a beautiful relationship with her, and well, right now she's not happy with me, but
why? Why?
I've been stupid.
Oh.
So right now she's not happy with me, but yeah. So
What's the stupidity you're talking about?
we keep having a few of our spats here and there, so we just had a spat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough sometimes. Did you change that when you became a father? Did you become a more expressive father because you probably didn't have it from your own parent?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm extremely expressive with my kids. A lot of hugs and a lot of cuddles, and a lot of doing everything together. And I actually actively make them express how they feel. and I make my feelings known.
Hmm.
You know, I think it's a very important lesson again. You know, to validate your own feelings, to value them, and to share them in a positive way. And that is something that I had to learn the rough way. You know, not being expressive. Keeping everything inside. That's how I was, and I still am in many ways. So it's something I have to consciously remind myself. But it's something I've when my son's 6, he's of course my daughter is 10, so she's of course a lot more aware than he is. But that's something I actively try and teach them. Amongst one of the things.
Have they seen any of your work?
We saw Hey Baby together.
Wow.
That's the only film that I let them see as yet. So yeah, they enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I will be, Khushi is the next one. I want them to see.
Wow.
So yeah. So there is some. I mean, they don't understand the language. They've not lived in this country.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a problem. But my son has also started reading now. So yeah.
I want to go back on the mental health topic that we were talking about and connect it to you mentioned about the weight gain time. The pictures were all over the social media. There were all kinds of feedback that came to you around that time. And I can just imagine how hard it would be. I have a stuttering issue. I have a pronunciation issue. Sometimes on my YouTube comments also, people go and say all kinds of things, which can be hard. You're a celebrity. You were everywhere. And people just talked about that at that point in time. Gussa aaya?
Of course. Sometimes you had the instinct to, lash back. Sometimes just upset, surprised that people could be so nasty and mean and take pleasure in watching somebody else's pain. But then again, you got to have thick skin. You got to be philosophical about it to some extent. Otherwise it takes you out. Yes, if you're in the public space, everyone's entitled to their opinion. How much value you give to that opinion is within your control.
Yeah.
And in my case, I went along with it. I don't know if you ever read my Facebook
I did.
response. I
did.
I was realistic about it. I saw it for what it was. I tried to find some humor in it. I responded to. I had my own opinion on trollers and trolling, which I spoke about, and just stayed positive. But yes, it was hurtful. It was traumatic. But again, if people felt what they felt after seeing my picture, it's not in my control. What does one do about it? We just live in these times. I'm not. But it's again. It's upon each one's conscience and the people they choose to be.
Yeah.
So that's up to them.
Yeah.
It's on them. But yes, you have to. You gotta have some thicker skin.
Yeah.
You have to in this, definitely in this business. It was a good welcome
Yeah.
to the age of social media, because I think when I left it wasn't around.
Yeah. But then Heeramandi happened, and so much love came your way. I know every media person also who came to interview back then, I know everybody was just very happy about the fact that Fardeen Khan has come back. Are you really excited about this second innings now? What are you looking forward to? What do you want to do now?
I'm extremely, extremely excited. I mean, firstly, I have received a lot of, like you said, a lot of people from the media were just, were happy to see me back.
Yeah.
It was that kind of support and encouragement is invaluable to me. Extremely grateful. Extremely excited being back. I mean, after a gap of 12 years, it's there's a whole new landscape. There's a whole new audience.
Yeah.
The way films are written, the way films are made, the way protagonists are being written now.
There are scripts.
Yeah, but I mean, but the basics are still the same.
Of course.
It's all about telling a story. But now, I mean, I think platforms like Netflix, which have been pioneers, in this new age of storytelling in the long form format, that in itself is pretty special. And there's just in terms of content, the genres that people can write about and people can act in and directors can direct. It's a great time. It's a great time to if you're part of the storytelling business.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic time.
Yeah. People like me did feel that I wish there was more of Fardeen Khan in Heeramandi. Did you feel that?
Well, it's better to leave them feeling that they wanted to see more.
That's a good feeling. That's true.
Yes. Listen, I was told I had about 8 to 10 scenes right from the start. And that's exactly what I had. I think I had about 8 or 9 scenes, but one scene of mine didn't make it, which I wish it had. That was a special scene, which I really enjoyed doing. But listen, it was, for me, the privilege of working with Sanjay Leela Bhansali, being directed by Sanjay Leela Bhansali, working for his banner in this most ambitious project which was being released worldwide was such a privilege. And it gave me so much confidence and belief in my ability and in what people thought of my work after such a long time, or what they thought that I could do, and getting an endorsement from him meant the world. To me, how people perceived me, and then once it released, I got such positive feedback on the few scenes that I did on my character. There's been it's been acknowledged. I still get messages every now and then, and some from some son, and from friends especially who don't need to. And of course, people who followed my work and who genuinely liked it. But a lot of people who I haven't heard from years have reached out. So it was very special to have that opportunity to work with him and his team. There was also and be associated with the project like this with Netflix. I couldn't have asked for a better way to come back.
Before Ibu throws something at me, last question. But after now, so there's this fourth, of course, but what else is happening? Would you also want to direct? You once said you want to remake Kurbani. Is that on the cards still?
Okay, there is another film called Khel Khel Mein, which is being directed by Mudassar Aziz.
Okay.
That the release date of that has been announced. That's on the 6th of September. And that's stars Akshay Kumar. That's with Vani, with Amy, with Tapsi, with Pragya, with Aditya, and myself. So it's an ensemble piece.
Comedy again.
It's got definitely there is a comedy is an important dynamic of it, but it's very entertaining. It's a remake of a very famous Italian movie called Perfect Strangers. So also again, I was working with someone I really enjoyed working with, Mudassar Aziz. He did his first film with me, Dulha Mil Gaya, which was my last release.
2010, yes.
That was my last release.
Yes, it was.
So that was also special, working with him again. You know, we both evolved and changed so much over this time. You know, we've also been in touch. In between, we weren't in touch. But you know, so that's very special. So I'm really excited. The two very different genres. You know, Visfort is a crime thriller. So that's also a space I haven't done before. And you know, I think you know, both films are going to entertain the audiences and find their audiences. So I'm excited about their releases.
Yeah.
And of course, Visfort, I also got a chance to work with a very dear friend, Ritesh.
Yeah.
You know, it was again our first outing together with after Hey Baby.
Yes.
So that made that special as well. And again with Sanjay Gupta producing again,
Yeah.
and Cookie Gulhati, who's directing Visfort. So he's done a few ads of mine in the past. So it was great. You know, I got this chance to work with people I've been associated with previously, people I've known. It was extremely helpful. I felt comfortable. I really enjoyed the creative process.
Yeah. Kurbani remake happening?
There are some discussions happening. Let me just put it at that.
Yeah.
You know, there are some discussions happening. There are some, you know, which way to go creatively with it is always a decision one has to make. You know, either you do either you do a remake or you do a sequel, or you know, how to give it relevance in today's day and age.
Yeah.
But yes, you know, it's a special movie, a special story, and yes, there are a few ideas that I am discussing with some people.
No, I can't wait for that, Faideen, and everything else you're doing in the future. I have questions for at least 2 more hours, but
we'll leave it for the next one.
We'll leave it for the rest in the next one. But thank you so much. You have no idea how happy I am that you did this for us. I hope you had a good time too.
I really enjoyed myself. No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was my first podcast. I will always remember it. But thank you for having me and inviting me.
Thank you. Genuine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can also hear the entire conversation on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podcast Index, RSS Community, and Listen Notes.